name is Geena Hernandez, and I am the writer-director for the short film Jinx.
Hi, I'm Ramiel Petros, and I'm the writer-director-editor for my short film, Aziz. Just keeping it broad, starting off. What's a piece of advice you would give your younger self?
I feel like what I'm going to say is definitely something that I'm going to continue to keep telling my younger, my present self, is chill out. Honestly, I think I remember my first movie in film school being very I had a mental breakdown in one of our conference rooms in the school because I was like, oh no, this dress that I ordered is not going to come in for, we're shooting tomorrow. It's not going to come in. How are we going to do this? And looking back now, it's just I was crying over this dress didn't get delivered. It's there's so many other problems that we had to deal with, or just things going on. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like being, even when you're a child, it's you have to have that temper tantrum when you're a kid. So it's just oh, okay, my toy's in another room. I'm angry, but then then later it's okay, my toy's in another room. I've done that before. I can go up and get it. So that's kind of what I feel like you kind of have to go through that stressful, because you just care so much about filmmaking that you're just it has to be perfect. It has to be this and that. But honestly, embracing spontaneity and chilling out a lot more and kind of just letting things, there's something so beautiful, I think, in the process of filmmaking, just what comes up naturally on set, or if you're just on set with your DP or something that's this might be cool, or something just sparks. I think kind of just chilling out and really trusting the process is very important, and I wish I knew that earlier.
There's something about that I feel all filmmakers do. Every short, from your the first one you make that has 2 people in it that are working on it, and it's being filmed on a phone, to every time when you're leveling up and making bigger shorts or moving on, it feels kind of the last film you're gonna make. Yeah. And so you're so stressed and amped about it, and it feels it's the sole focus of your entire life, and then it's over, and then when you're doing the next one that's usually bigger or more complicated, and you're oh, I wish I could. I was so not stressed last time. That was awesome.
You always romanticize it. Remember back, you're oh yeah, that was fine.
It's psychotic.
And we keep putting ourselves through it.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, no. That's a good question.
Yeah, I kind of feel I don't know. I mean, that's great advice to young self. I wish I knew that. Something I think I sometimes wish I knew was kind of working with what you have more than what's in your head. I think is something I'm always learning on a short. So obviously you're trying to execute this imaginary hallucination you're having in your head, and learning that once you've casted it and you've put your project in the hands of a bunch of other creative collaborators, working with what they give you is often so much more valuable than trying to force the project to become what you wanted it to be originally in your head. And it's that's something I'm learning with every short, where when I give more trust to people, I end up with a better project.
Yeah.
And that I think is something that is always awesome. Best idea wins, not my idea wins.
No, I think it's it's such a balance that I think maybe only comes from experience, just doing it over and over again, of just finding out, because I for sure still struggle with that too, because it's just I don't know, I feel whenever other people come on, it always gets better, but it's still finding that balance of making sure you don't lose your original vision, because it's I love notes, but it's at some point it's it's kind of filtering out what's still the original thing, which is so tricky to do when you're starting out, because you're I don't know, I just started.
The notes will never stop. No matter how many times you work on it, someone will always give you a note, and often you'll get to places where it's just different notes, and it's trust your gut a lot.
Yeah.
And stick to I'm oh, is this still the thing I wanted to make?
I think. No, yeah, that's really great. I am very curious about your answer to this question. If you could only use one coloration or color scheme for the rest of your creations, what would it be and why?
One color scheme? That's so specific.
Yeah. Or some palette that you're just what colors or visuals are you usually drawn to?
I weirdly I kind of start out with a texture palette a lot, and then I kind of pick my colors from that.
That's awesome.
So for my last film, which takes place in the Middle East, I pulled together a bunch of textures of corrugated metal for the locations that we're using that are the military encampment, and sand was like a texture, and we looked at like the like rubber of the car tires, the wood of like the makeshift coffin, like all these things, and like based on those texture palettes, we pulled like, okay, like we know that like orange and like the color of sand is going to be in it a lot, or like the color of rust from like these things. We had like rubber of like the body bags, like things like that we kind of like used to pull everyone together. And so I guess that's not an answer on what one color palette would be, but
no, that's cooler. I like the texture. I was when you said that, because you said in your Q&A that like you shot across different places, and I was just like, oh, like that's just like, it felt so cohesive and so like it did feel like there was a lot of texture. And I was just like, so yeah, I love that answer.
Yeah. What about you? You have a really distinct.
Yeah, I guess every color. Yeah, I'm very drawn to just like, I just think color is such and texture too. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I didn't even think about that, but texture is so important, because like, even in like, I've heard people like, even for like period pieces or something, it's so like, even just the specific type of fabric makes such a difference. And like, that's so fascinating to me. So I think like, I guess just on the color spectrum though, I just really gravitate towards a lot of like bright or vivid colors that just kind of feel like a different world.
Yeah, I noticed, I mean, your film, not saturated, that's not the right word, but like everything feels so like alive. Like,
it was pretty saturated. I did my colors. Thank you, Jack. He sent me a first color pass, and I was like, I love this. Maybe just the saturation. And he was like, you want more? And I was like, yeah. I think we could do some more.
I guess, I mean, a style for me is I tend to be kind of the opposite realm. I tend to go a lot more muted. I'm always like, tone it down a little. And they're like, it's back to lawn. We have to.
No, it's cool. I thought that the color scheme for your movie was very like, I don't know. I feel like I don't see too much of that in a sense, and like it's very, I don't know, I enjoyed seeing it. It felt so cohesive and so grounded, which for the story too is just kind of like, it makes it all feel like scarier in a sense, because it is so grounded. And it's
maybe a little more real, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun. I feel like it's always so project based, I guess, because depending on what you're doing, like I don't know that like muted wouldn't have worked for your film.